Hi, my name is Diana Hernandez, and I did my research paper over Washington Irving. The man, the myth, the first American writer. Well, commercial writer. He changed the course of American literature. He would inspire writers for centuries to come with his literary works. His commercial and profitable stance on writing won the day and is still taken by most writers today. Washington Irving was born on April 3rd, 1783. The youngest of 11 children, he started very young. His brothers and sisters would write essays. His brother worked at a publishing company that printed newspapers, and Washington Irving would sometimes publish some of his works in his brother's newspaper. He would write under a pseudonym of Johnny Oldstyle, I do believe is what his name was. He used satire as a literary device, because one thing about Washington Irving that most biographers would say about him is that he was very funny. He was very charming. He knew how to find humor in everyday life and used it as a comparison to what he could relate in some of his writings. In school, Washington Irving was what most teachers would say average. Some of his teachers would say that he didn't have much potential, because they would say that most of the time he was in the clouds, as we would call it today. He had a very wild imagination, and sometimes he would get caught just staring off into the distance, imagining anywhere but where he was. But his imagination would lead him to some of his greatest books and stories, where without his imagination, we wouldn't be where we are now. Without the stories of the Headless Horseman or Rip Van Winkle. Washington Irving would set the tone for the rewriting of American history. His biography of Christopher Columbus is a good example. He broke from the actual history of what Christopher Columbus was to what he created as the American hero. Christopher Columbus is known for being a tyrannical monster on a mission for goods and resources, and into this natured folklore hero we all grew up learning about in school as the conqueror, as the adventurer, the one who discovered America. In this type of writing that he did, we learned how he would change the very nature of reality to create the America he wanted to see. He wanted to experience. No one wanted to hear about Christopher Columbus, this bad guy. Everybody wanted to hear about this great person that loved to go on adventures and would discover all these new lands. No one wanted to hear about Christopher Columbus, the one that stole and killed and basically took over. Washington Irving did create what we know now as American folklore. The legend of Sleepy Hollow is a good example. Before Irving's stories of American folklore, there was only a patchwork of regional, unrelated stories. They didn't really have a genre for that, and that's what he created, which is why Sleepy Hollow is established as an American tradition of folklore that's now nationally published and has created a core competency of creation of national folklore. It's now known as American folklore. Washington Irving also changed the American publishing landscape. He was one of the first writers to get publishing rights for his works, in which he got to enjoy writing for a living, which is something that a lot of writers didn't have the opportunity to do at that time. It was very rare for someone to live independently just on his writing. He was also was the first true American writer. He created a way of thinking that has lasted for centuries, even today. I mean, just look, we're still talking about him today.